Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Muhammad HAFIZ bin AMRAN. Today I representing my group members. We'll talk about some information about what we will learn here. So the topic is aggregate demand and aggregate supply. So basically we will talk about the aggregate demand and aggregate supply. We also will present about the equilibrium in the aggregate demand and aggregate supply. And for the last part here, we will talk about the real world example of event using the aggregate demand and aggregate supply. So the first thing here, what is aggregate demand? Aggregate demand is the quantity demand of all goods and service or real gross domestic product at a different price level. For the aggregate demand curve, it shows that the quantity demand of all goods and service at different price level. But according to an academy, that as we can see here, the aggregate demand curve is a curve that shows what determines total supply or total demand for the economy and how the total supply and demand interact at the macroeconomic level. So here is example of aggregate demand curve. As we can see here, the curve is sloping downward. But I will skip this part. I will let my friend explain further to you guys later.
Hi, my name is SAFIAH binti MUHAMAD and we will talk about aggregate demand curve. Aggregate demand curve always go downward sloping due to the negative relationship between price level and aggregate output. According to Anizah Ali in her book, there are three determinants that cause the AD curve to go downward sloping. First is wealth effect, second is interest rate effect, and third is exchange rate effect. And we will talk about wealth effect. When the purchasing power of buyers decrease, it will lead to the less consumption of goods and products. The aggregate output will decrease also.
So now we move to the next part, the component of aggregate demand. According to Will Kenton, consumption represents the demand by individual and household within the economy. Investment represents business investment to support current output and increase production capability. Government represents the demand produced by government programs such as infrastructure building and public goods. Net export represents the demand for foreign goods as well as the foreign demand for domestic goods. We can calculate it by subtracting the total value of export from the total value of import.
Aggregate supply is the total supply of goods and services an economy produces in a given time period. It's the amount of goods companies plan to sell at given price levels. Essentially, aggregate supply is the relationship between price levels and the amount of goods and services an economy produces. The aggregate supply curve on chart shows this relationship. Normally, it's positive. As price go up, production goes up. Shifts in aggregate supply can come from changes in the size and quality of labor, technological innovation, wages increases, higher production costs, changes in producer taxes and subsidies, and changes in inflation. There are differences between short-run and long-run aggregate supply. In the short run, capital does not change substantially. Instead, aggregate supply responds to higher demand and prices. By bringing more inputs into the production process and increasing utilization of current inputs. In the long run, however, aggregate supply is not affected by the price level and is driven only by improvements in productivity and efficiency. Did you know how to find the slope of the market supply curve? According to BATS 2019, the slope of the supply curve equals the change in price divided by the change in quantity. The slope is always positive and the curve slopes up and right.
For the next part is aggregate supply, which means the total real output that producers in a company are willing and able to supply at a given price level in a given time period. There are two types of it. The first one is short-run aggregate supply. The second one is long-run aggregate supply. Based on Sadiq and Sari, short-run aggregate supply refers to the total amount of goods and series that all firms within an economy are willing and able to produce at different price levels in the short run, assuming other factors may remain constant. Meanwhile, based on Pallapi Banerjee, long-run aggregate supply is an approach that explains how much an economy can produce by using all factors of production to their optimum capacity. In the long run, when all the factors become variable and there is full economic employment, The output obtained does not depend on the price level. The reasons why aggregate supply curves slope upward, there are two explanations. The first one is sticky wages and the second one is worker misconceptions. Shift in the SRAS curve may be caused by changes in wages rates, prices of non-labor inputs, productivity, supply shocks, which includes adverse and beneficial.
Let us move on to the next part, which is macroeconomics equilibrium. Macroeconomics equilibrium happen when AD, that always go downward sloping, intersect with AS, that always go upward sloping due to wages and price stickiness. And then, when there is an intersection between them, the equilibrium will be created. Equilibrium can happen in short run and long run. In a short run, AD curve will intersect with short run AS curve, and there will be a new equilibrium created if there's any changes in AD or AS. Short run equilibrium reflects the current growth, domestic product and price level. For their relationship, when there's AD more than AS, there will be an excess of AD, or we call it shortage. And also, if AD less than AS, we will call it as excess of AS, according to Anizah Ali. The movement of equilibrium will happen when AD or AS only change, or AD and AS change simultaneously or change together. For example, when the AD shift to the right, due to the increase of export, it will create a new equilibrium like this. The new equilibrium will be created and the price will also go higher. And also we can see that the aggregate output also increase. We can conclude from here that the change in AD or increase in AD can cause P to increase and aggregate output also increase.
Hello, my name is NURDAYANA BALKIS, and now I'm going to continue with long-run equilibrium. According to Khan Academy, long-run equilibrium occur when the output from the interaction of short-run aggregate supply and aggregate demand match full employment output with all price adjusted. Graphically, this is where aggregate demand, short-run aggregate supply, and long-run aggregate supply intersect in the ADAS model. For example, you can look at the graph here. Short-run equilibrium is the point where short-run aggregate supply and aggregate demand intersect. We show that Y1 as the current output and PL1 as the current price level. There are two things you need to know from this graph. First one, Y1 is equal to YF, which means that the economy is producing exactly its full employment output and is in long-run equilibrium. Second, long-run aggregate supply is always vertical, so the long-run equilibrium is where all three of these curves intersect.
Next, we will continue with the state of an economy. An economy can be in short-run equilibrium, long-run equilibrium, or disequilibrium. When the economy is in neither short-run nor long-run equilibrium, it is said to be in disequilibrium. Essentially, disequilibrium is the state of the economy as it moves from one short-run equilibrium to another short-run equilibrium, or from short-run equilibrium to long-run equilibrium. Besides that, in disequilibrium, the quantity supply and the quantity demand for real GDP are not equal.
Lastly, let us try to know one more equation. Congrats to those who chose me. For those who do not, let's do it together.
The supply of oil increase, it will affect the AS to shift to the right, so new equilibrium is here. We can see that price is decreasing and output is increasing.